And we are going to hope that everything goes fine this time.
Alright, I'll give my shill, if you will.
Sure.
I'm smoking a Camacho 2020 Triple Maduro with some blended whiskey, New Hampshire Hall of Blacks. That was brewed in Tamworth Distilling in Tamworth, New Hampshire. Go ahead and get it if you want. Bottled over in Boston, Massachusetts.
This channel is not sponsored.
No, it is not, but go ahead and buy it if you have the ability to. Please drink responsibly.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. Can I leave you with the chat for 1 second so I can run inside and get me a drink?
Yeah, absolutely. You gonna get a cheerleader drink?
I don't actually have any beer or liquor right now. So I'm just gonna get me like a soda. No, it's probably not gonna be a soda. It's probably gonna be like an iced coffee, probably at this time of night.
Sounds good. I did the standard working man Monster Zero, so I get it.
Righteous. I have returned. Hello?
Yep, still here.
Let's see.
Trying to entertain the chat, failing.
It says my connection is unstable. Is it still going or no?
Yeah, it's still on.
Okay, then I'm not going to worry about it.
So we got 28 people.
Alrighty, now looks like we got 38. Maybe more will come in now that I'm actually back. I'm so sorry. What's up, everybody? Me and Joey are going to talk about, I guess, some religious topics this time, because, yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with people's personal religious hypocrisy, but I am interested in hearing how you reconcile, like, the life you've lived with the faith that you keep.
Alright, so where do you want to start?
I don't know, actually. I would kind of like you to open the floor, like, because you mentioned specifically, like, sexual deviancy versus the teachings of the church. And if you're comfortable with starting off there, I'd be fine starting off there.
Sure. So, I at some point, in my adulthood, I was, really, really bad. There's a joke that I've slept with more men than even my wife has even looked at. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I feel you.
I mean, hell, I even got attacked by Antifa twice coming out of a gay bar. So I really missed that gay bar. That they had the best mozzarella sticks and really great drinks. I always got free drinks because the owner said I have, and I quote, a state trooper bod. And he always loved making me happy.
That's funny. It's a state trooper bot. I've never heard that one before.
Yep. I'm glad that you know that one. So I very much, that's kind of where I was at. So in regards to my personal journey, I used to sleep with someone like, and I know I've traditionally been a good-looking dude, this and that. I definitely took advantage of that. I'd probably sleep, like at one point I was sleeping with like 2-3 different people a week, plenty of different group play activities, had a very active FetLife account, Tinder fucking constantly, sleeping with everyone under the sun. I mean, it was just another day basically, like get my dick wet. But I was always sleeping around all the country too, because military, I was traveling so much for different orders, whatnot, and it got so bad that my child was actually conceived, funny enough, in a Wiccan sex ritual. And I mean, I was just happy I got to sleep with a bunch of goth chicks. That was all I gave a fuck about. So win for me. And it wasn't until my child was born, and she had a delayed response to breathing and all that, and everything was like the world kind of stopped for a moment. I mean, even on my dog tags, it ended up saying pagan on it, because I had a very belief of, you know what, everyone's got their belief in whatever gods, everyone's got a belief, everything's valid. Like, I firm believer on that for the longest time. And I mean, I meditated up and did some shrooms with druids in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, like also in the desert of San Antonio.
Beautiful.
Like, I've done some shit all over the place, and through my religious journey,
Yes, I can see you, Centurion.
What?
I was just responding to somebody in the chat.
Yep. Through my religious journey, I was always looking for something that was there. I was always rebellious. I loved my occult everything, especially, like, I was a big lover of the John Constantine Hellblazer comic series, and I just loved everything occult, and even ended up checking out, you know, the Annabelle doll?
Yeah.
So the Warrens, actually, they were in Rhode Island, and ended up having this belief. I said, you know what? screw this whole Christianity thing. I want to go ahead and fight this idea. I said, you know what? If I go there and I feel the presence of evil, and if I truly do, then I will, by default, that means that there's a presence of good. Told my priest that later, and he's like, the fuck is wrong with you? But I ended up kind of didn't end up going to the trip because of COVID ended up showing up and health crap for people, but I was always in this idea that there has to be something more. And it wasn't until after the birth of my daughter and how many times I've had a gun waved in my face, how many times like I've had near-death experiences that I realized that I'm like, okay, maybe I was looking in all the wrong places, and I had a belief of, okay, well, you know what, life itself, I mean, I can either look for something that might not be there and it's not going to call for me directly, or I can stop, appreciate the grass and the beauty and everything that's in this world, and look out and realize that, hey, I'm currently here, like, with how big the universe is, I'm currently having a consciousness that gets to experience the wonders that are in this world. I mean, we're having a wonderful conversation over technology that would be incomprehensible to people in previous years. We're constantly having this driving force that is pushing us more and more and more, whether it be just biological, whatever. Something is there that can't be explained even by science, even before the Big Bang. We don't know what was there. So with this time on Earth, I kind of just said, you know what? It is easier to understand that life has been going on. Everyone's had these questions whenever they exist. And in that, say, 50, 80 years, whatever they have to debate this, think about this, they can accomplish something. They can roll with the flow and just be upset at the world, or they can experience and appreciate life. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go with the understanding that, go with my heritage, of course, Catholic. There's been this great structure in place, great, I know, debated, but there are these questions that everyone has had for the longest time. They have been reserving themselves to God, and great things have come. And rather than fighting the current, go with it. And I've been more happy than I ever have been. And I'll say God is great. Everyone has their own journey, will reach our Creator in some way, shape, or form by the end of it. I'm not going to say that anybody is right or wrong. I mean, obviously I'll have my joking criticisms, but we're all here, and...
You're like a Catholic Baha'i.
What?
You're like a Catholic Baha'i, which I'm fine with, but I've just never... I don't know that I've ever heard somebody that's, like, Catholic espouse this kind of universalism. I'm just, kind of surprised pleasantly to hear it out of you.
I mean, I told you my history already, Mingy.
Right.
I mean, I've gone through the shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't mean out of you particularly. I just mean,
break down the barriers. There is so much beautiful, there's so many beautiful discussions to be had. And when you stop fighting, I'll say man as a general term, not so much as man, woman. When you understand, experience life, experience like the majesty that we do have, and understand there's only so much within our control, especially once you go through the military, you realize real fast you are not in control. So...
Well, yeah, but that's kind of like the point of basic training is to,
You really do believe a beauty that is around you, and you can say it's God's plan, you can say it's God's plan and everything is predetermined, or you can say, which kind of goes against the whole concept of free will, in my opinion, but at the end of the day, we are all together going to share this beautiful experience, and I'm just not going to fight it anymore. It's much better for me, much better for my family, so There you go.
Yeah, okay, so I guess that gives us plenty of things to go off of. So, number one, I don't know that I'm interested in trying to convert you because it doesn't seem like you're necessarily trying to legislate on the basis of your beliefs or trying to enforce them on other people. It seems like you're pretty universalist in that regard. But given that this is, ideally kind of like supposed to be like the debate section of the stream, so my problems with belief in God fundamentally come down to number one, the sort of gullibility I think that it can induce in some people, and number two, the way in which religious attitudes can be used and manipulated in order to institute systems of rigid social control. And as somebody who's been living 28 years on this planet, enjoying the beauty and the kind of depravity of this earth, of which there is an inexhaustible amount, both from human beings and non-human animals. I've seen plenty of patterns throughout my life, but I've never seen a pattern which could not be explained without God, and I've never seen a pattern that leads me to believe that if there is a moral orchestrator behind it all, that it has a method of morality that would be at all recognizable to human beings. I feel like even if one were to prove some of the fundamental ideas behind a specific religious identity, like Catholicism, you would have to prove not just that there is a divine creator, but that divine creator has a specific species of primate that he values over all others, that he indeed is a he and not some amorphous presence, that it's got like preferences as to morality and all this. There's like so many things you've got to prove just there, and all of that is something that even if you accept that maybe there is something out there, none of that necessarily means that it's something we should follow. Even if there was, in other words, a creator of the universe who did have specific moral prescriptions, that in and of itself doesn't mean to me that we shouldn't necessarily rebel against that creator. After all, if your parents beat you and they're horrible to you and they mistreat you, then I can't really blame somebody for running away from their parents, or even, maybe like in a fight with their parents doing some, self-defense type violence to get away from that situation. I think that merely because something created something else does not mean that it owns it forever and can control its fate unequivocally. I think that would be something that would be an additional layer. Even if you could prove the divine mind, divine intention, omniscience, and all these other things, you would still need to prove, in my mind at least, for it to be a valid point of view, fully valid, not just personally valid, but for it to be something worthy of proselytizing to others. I would want it to be something you could prove why I should care about the creator of the universe's morality, even after you prove all the rest. So that is fundamentally my problem as an atheist, right? I say I'm an agnostic because I can't be sure. But when it comes to many of the specific prescriptions about God that have been laid out, I think many of those are provably false and not based on any kind of reality. And there are so many other proofs that you have to do before you even get to the point where I, as an atheist, would accept, okay, sure, this religion is right. And that's been my problem since probably around 21. I started my journey away from religion when I was 13, when I was having panic attacks over the nature of hell and the nature of eternity. I couldn't wrap my head around how a benevolent God would let a 12-year-old like myself go to hell for just not praying the right way or having the right preferences, and then getting killed one day, and I just didn't do the right things, or I sinned that day without asking for forgiveness or whatever. And
I think things to process there.
Huh?
I think there's some good things to process that I think will actually make you and I think, especially you surrounded by as many Protestants as you have growing up, I think that makes sense for your worldview. So, I think for your own curiosity, for your own knowledge in the future, have you ever read the Catholic Catechism?
No.
Okay, it's worth. Now, I'm not going to say read the whole freaking thing because that's retarded, especially if you're not Catholic yourself. But it's worth at least reading like the first few, like the first pillar for you to understand, because the Catechism is what Catholics believe. Now, with the Catechism, it explains what we believe and how we believe it, and that's something that really helped out for myself. Now, there's not this idea that you're not going to go to hell unless it's a cardinal sin. Like, there are cardinal sins, like, don't fucking kill people, like, murder.
Thank you, Ozzy Wee Wee.
Also, thank you, Ozzy Wee Wee, for that is a hilarious name. Thank you, Ozzy,
I know, right?
For the super chat to Phoebe. Goes a
Yeah,
long way.
thank you. But do continue.
So, you won't be going to hell unless it's a great cardinal sin. If you're loving somebody else opposite sex and everything, at the end of life, I've held people who have been dying. You have this realization, or you're coming to terms. However you resolve yourself, you end up meeting your creator, you meet your end of life, you settle your debts, if you will. You settle your affairs. And in that process, Catholics believe that there is a, quote, final cleansing. That final cleansing is preparing you to eventually go to heaven. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are, and heaven's not this, hey, pie in the sky, whatever. It is joining this collective of souls, this collective energy, if you will, in the end. It's not this, okay, there's this big bearded guy out and about. Like,
so wait a minute.
God is an impossibility. Yeah, it's an impossibility because it's not, God isn't a man. God isn't a woman. God is a thing.
So wait, under the Catholic Catechism, heaven is a lot more like nirvana within Hindu or Buddhist systems, right?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Okay.
The whole idea is that there is heaven. There is this paradise of understanding. You are joining back into the Creator, this greater energy. I'm translating some of it, basically in a way that doesn't sound preachy and whatnot. You are joining the Creator, and that is the paradise. Joining once more. They say it the Father in the term of the role, not necessarily male, female, because God is above such things.
So what do you make of the descriptions in the Bible of heaven? Because there's quite a few, and some of them do kind of suggest an ethereal structure of some kind, but others are definitely a lot more like what you're talking about. And I've just always wondered which is the truth, because I feel like preachers, not saying you or any of us, but I'm saying preachers will often, double talk about this. They'll act like it's, Holy Communion in perpetuity with the Holy Spirit when it's convenient for one reason, and then they'll act like it's a wonderful land of milk and honey when it comes to convincing a questioning 12-year-old to stay in the faith.
So I can go ahead with that.
All right.
So, believe it or not, as funny as it sounds, the Bible is not the end-all be-all. There is a belief which is the Word of God, and then there is the Word of man. Much of the Bible is the Word of man, and the Word of man can be structured, can be manipulated, can be held over. That's why a lot of people talk about some wild shit that's in the Bible. A lot of people talk about the wild shit that's in the Quran, New Testament, Old Testament.
Hadiths.
Man is not perfect. Man can be committed of sin. Man can be committed of terrible things of manipulation. We have that free will.
What's up, Christopher?
The Word of God is a whole different story. That's why they say when we go to church, we say this is the Word of God, this is the Word of man. Like, it is a very big separation. Because, again, man can fuck up. We have that free will. We are blessed with that. Heaven itself is a paradise. It is beyond our comprehension. The true heaven is just a communion and meeting once more with your Creator at the end of days. Jesus is the Son. You have the Holy Spirit. Now, one thing that a lot of people criticize Catholics for, I'm sure you've heard of the Holy Trinity. There's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. This is where a lot of Christianity separates. And also Islam as well. And Judaism and the like. So the belief is that there's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Are they separate? That is a big thing. Some people say Jesus was separate from the Father, Lord. Some people say the Holy Spirit's a whole separate thing. That it's, do you hold them separate or the same? Catholics hold them all together. Now, do you have internal monologue?
I do, yeah.
Yep. So when you think of internal monologue, you hold yourself thinking, oh, I should have done that. Oh, wouldn't it be great if I did this or that? Yeah?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of how a third person kind of operates. I want you to think of the Father. You are the Father. The Son is your reflection out. The Son is the reflection out. That would be Christ, if you will, that Spirit of Christ and the like. And that thought process going back and forth, that is the Holy Spirit. That is that, if you will, your brain telling you, hey, this is that energy that's going forth between the two. You have your brain, you have your body, you have the process that speaks to each other. That's kind of how Catholics go together. That's how they hold the Holy Trinity, while a lot of Protestants, they say, no, he's separate, he was hanging out with Dad, or going back to Dad. He was sent down separate.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I've heard lots of liturgical discussions about this, and I've always thought that, well, as an atheist that's got no stake in the argument one way or the other, really, I've always thought that the Catholic doctrine on the triune Godhead makes a lot more sense than the bullshit the Protestants be spitting out, because they come up with there are probably a million different Protestant explanations for the distinction between God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Because you have that, there's only one line, direct line that we have from when Jesus did walk the earth. We do know that for a fact, scientifically, he did exist. We have tax paperwork from the Romans discussing about Christ being put up. We do have the Shroud of Turin, which we did confirm already to be the same shroud that ended up having the blood of our Lord.
No.
We have all that. That's
we can't. No. Oh my God. Now I'm gonna have to challenge you on the Shroud of Turin. This is not good. This is not good.
So we have this factual. We knew Jesus existed, and then it's like, okay, what do we do with that information?
Well, see, like, my thing is, even if the Shroud of Turin was not fraudulent, which, from everything I've looked at, seems like it is, but even if we do accept that Roman records confirm that somebody was crucified back then that was a Jewish rabble-rouser and everything, like, none of the things that we've got that may confirm the existence of Jesus, none of those confirm the divinity of Jesus. And one of the things I always like to bring up in conversations like this is, have you ever heard of Sabbatai Zevi?
Enlighten me.
Let me make sure I'm spelling his name correctly. Let me just Google it real quick. Sabbatai Zevi. No, that's not. Okay, yeah, Sabbatai Zevi. He was a former Jewish mystic and rabbi from Smyrna who converted to Islam. But his basically his story is he was active throughout the Ottoman Empire. He claimed to be the long-awaited Jewish Messiah and founded the Sabbatean movement, which gained significant traction among Jews. Central to his teachings was the belief that during the Messianic age, acts traditionally considered sinful would transform into righteous ones. This antinomian doctrine led Zevi and his followers to deliberately violate Jewish commandments, a controversial practice that later inspired movements like the Frankists. Basically, upon arriving in Constantinople in February 1666, Sabbatai was imprisoned on the order of the Grand Vizier, Caprolazad Fazil Ahmad Pasha. In September, after being moved from different prisons around the capital to the imperial court seat in Adrianople, now Adern, he was convicted of fomenting Sin Mehmed IV and chose conversion, donning an Islamic turban from then on. The heads of the Ottoman state rewarded him with a generous pension for complying with their political and religious plans. About 300 families who followed Zevi also converted to Islam and became known as the Donme, Turkish for converts. Subsequently, the Ottomans banished him twice, first within Constantinople and after he was heard singing psalms with Jews there, to a small town known today as Olsinj in what is now Montenegro. He died in isolation. And I always want to ask people who really believe super firmly in the divinity of Jesus and in the reality of his existence as a as a prophet and all this, like, what about Sabbatai Zevi? Like, what's so different about him? What if he had been not, like, would it, if Sabbatai Zevi had been hanged by the Ottomans because he chose to really just stick by his guns, would that prove his divinity too? You know, he had a similar, he had the equivalent of John the Baptist in the form of a rabbi named Nathan of Gaza, who was, like doing the same kind of thing for Sabbatai Zevi that John the Baptist did for Christ. And I just always wonder, like, what about all of these other prophets who have popped up, not just in the Jewish world, like Sabbatai Zevi, but also in the Christian world, like Joseph Smith, or in the Asian world, like that dude whose name I always forget. Like, what about these people? Why not? Like, what gives us any inkling or reason why we should assume divinity in this instance?
Freaked out when I say this. I don't think that anyone's belief in any of those are wrong. The main thing is the Father. If Christ was considered wrong, like the wrong end of it, it is like the main key is joining that, if you will, ethereal presence in the end. But for most people, and I mean, even in the eyes of some people, say Muhammad, I'm speaking not so much for. I'm not speaking so much for Catholics in particular. I mean, I may wave the flag for them, but the idea is that
fair enough.
We came to this belief that we are at our core a religious people. When I see people die around me, and unfortunately I've been surrounded by too much death than I'd like, at the end of it, people aren't calling, oh science. They're asking for God. They're looking for their way out. At our core, we are a religious people, and we're gonna deal with as we do.
See, I don't know that I
put my chips in Christ. I like the idea that I'm more comfortable with enjoying the idea that my family members, my history, has gone and joined a ethereal presence of the Father rather than just being worm food. It's one of those comforts that once you really get
So sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Give me 1 second.
I'll wait.
This is what I have to deal with, folks. Fucking train.
more comfortable with the idea of knowing that my family and that life did have a purpose, that my family is with this ethereal presence, than accepting that there wasn't a point to any of this. That's kind of, I think, where most people kind of fall in line on that. I'm not going to tell anybody that Jesus was right or wrong if the individual that you brought up was right or wrong. For me, what really gave the selling point was talking about the apostles, was those who followed Christ. Like, I know I personally, like, I would probably fold like origami if I had a Roman holding the sword against me, saying, "Hey, forsake whatever and your faith and or die, have your family I'll die." Like, we're human. We try and save what we can, especially our family and the like. But that motivation comes from something, and there has to be a purpose. I choose to believe in the purpose of life. I choose to believe in I was put on Earth for some whatever reason, and not just because Mom took a couple too many margaritas and Dad looked at her silly. And I'd like to, it's just choosing this idea that I want to know that I'm going to meet that beautiful creator in the end.
You know?
And it is my personal role. I know a lot of people are complete assholes, if I'm being honest, forcing religion down people's throats, saying that, oh, you're going to go to hell, this and that. And it's like, no, just go ahead and let the beauty of the world do the talking. Like,
let he who is righteous
spread the good word. And it's like, people know the world. We have the internet now. We have the good word. It's fine. Let people explore.
Let he who is righteous, let him be righteous still. Let he who is filthy, let him be filthy still. Listen to the words long written down when the man comes around.
It is not my place to convert others, but only just have these beautiful conversations that we're having. And you know what? If it catches on to somebody, great, but it is not my responsibility.
Ozzy Wee sent $2 and asked me if I could share the Discord link in chat, so I'm going to do that real quick. Give me just 1 second, and we will resume our wonderful conversation. Let me see here.
I make a little sense for where I came about on things.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss it more for sure, but yes, it does make quite a bit of sense. Yes, I will say that much. Let me see here.
I'm just hoping from my church ever finds any of the pornos that I are.
Yeah, that you participated in.
Yep. Good few.
Actually,
go figure. A good number of them were actually filmed in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Oh.
And I know you're in Mississippi, right?
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Down in Biloxi, where the water is brown.
Yeah, it's still, like for years, still cleaning up that fucking oil spill.
I just think of that song from SpongeBob every time I see the ocean down.
I played competitive Magic the Gathering, and I actually was on the Pro Tour for a bit. My first table flip I ever actually had someone go on me was actually in Mississippi.
Nice.
It was a Magic the Gathering pre-release for Gate Crash, and they were just preying on like, oh, hey, here are these dumb airmen coming through, and I absolute throttled the shit out of like some local player, and he got so pissed off he flipped the table. I didn't even think that could happen. I thought I was just joking.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it's a light enough table, it's definitely possible. But I swear to God, every time I see the beach down in Biloxi, like most of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, I don't know if there's a single section of the Mississippi part of the Gulf Coast that looks nice, but every time I see it, I just think of that little line, that little tune from. You're probably too old to have watched SpongeBob as a kid, but you guys will remember. You guys in the chat that are little youngsters. What?
Love me some SpongeBob. It's basically like half my meme culture.
Okay, so you know that little tune where they're like, yeah, that's the tune that runs through my head every time I look through, like I just look over the beach at Biloxi. I'm just like, man, what the fuck? Although, from what I understand, part of it is the oil spill and like the pollution and shit, but a lot of it's also just the fact that it's so fucking close to the Mississippi Delta and the delta of the whatever that weird Cajun name is, the Appalachia River or whatever the fuck it is. There's like two major river systems that dump out right next to each other, right off the Mississippi coast in Louisiana. And from my understanding, a lot of the like browning of the water just comes from like suspended sediment that gets washed back up into shore. But I bet a lot of it would, I bet that would probably not be having as bad an effect if they were more proactive in cleaning up that spill. But, or maybe more proactive in not letting a spill happen in the first place. Do what?
Was there a lot of flooding? Was there ever a lot of flooding in Biloxi? Because like every time I would go down there was always like sand, like beach sand everywhere from where I was over there, and that was
hurricanes.
Was there like a bad flood or something?
Hurricanes. So what happens is that that's also why if you drive around the Mississippi coast or the Louisiana, like anywhere in like the southern Gulf Coast around Louisiana, you'll see these, and you'll see it in Florida too, these houses that are built on stilts and shit like that, and like you'll see a real tendency with the businesses to be located in like specific spots, and the businesses that aren't tend to be like transient in nature. And that's because the Gulf Coast is tempest tossed with storms every year, and a lot of these storms do bring pretty severe localized flooding close to the coasts, where you'll have tons of sand just pouring into the inland parts and shit like that.
When I was in Florida, Pensacola, like I didn't see as much of that, but I saw a lot of that whenever I'd go down south, especially like in Biloxi. So
well, I'll tell you another reason why it doesn't happen as much in Pensacola. Pensacola has barrier islands. Mississippi's Gulf Coast does not. Neither does Louisiana's. So that's another like geographical feature, from my understanding, that makes Pensacola have less of a big like storm swell and everything whenever there's a big storm that hits the coast, and why some, like you look at other places in Florida, whenever they get inundated, it's just fucking insane because they don't have barrier islands either. But there's certain parts of Florida that are, like one of the reasons why they're so well known and so well traveled is because the storms are kind of prevented by the geography of the area from doing as much damage, whereas in the more like westerly parts of the Gulf Coast, like the more northwesterly portions, like the Mississippi Gulf Coast and the Louisiana Gulf Coast, there's just none of that to stop these storms from ripping through with increasing, fervor until they hit the coast.
Okay. So I know we kind of drifted off from the fake situation of like kind of going about on that. And just going towards like the locale, if you will. Was there like just based on this idea of more of a Nirvana idea, like at first, kind of like is closer to how a lot of Catholics actually like go when you look at the doctrine. It's separate from what a lot of people have, like just strictly sticking to the Bible. The same priest that I actually talked to at one point, I think it was last year's Lent, it was last year's Lent, when I ended up, it's been a long time, I've been following this channel, But when I said that I was giving up politics for Lent, dealing with all that, and your streams barely, like, if you have a calling, if you're specifically going to that, like, that's clearly go with that. That same priest actually, where does it go? He actually told me multiple times, it's like, yeah, if you look at the catechism, it very much separates the Word of God and the Word of man. And man is going to come up with a lot of ways, because we, as man, as people, as a people, we are never going to understand truly what is God. Like, everyone's going to come up with a million different ways, and we're all going to be wrong. He said straight up, the Catholic faith is, if you are a follower of Christ, it is to us the best idea, holding traditions from that time, from Christ when he walked the earth. If you are going to follow Christ, I'm not going to say if anyone's right or wrong for any other followers, as you brought one up, but if you end up subscribing to that, then that is your best bet. And it's not anyone's role to say anyone is right or wrong, because God's will is incomprehensible to us as people. And anyone who tries to say otherwise, well, you can say that the followings of Christ, cool, but then there are followings of men. Like, for example, there's a people that are saying,
You're breaking up a little bit.
What?
Let me turn you up a little bit. Hold on. Say something.
Yep.
I can barely hear you for some reason.
Yeah, it sounded like
Damn it. I'm gonna mute up so
mute up. Alright.
Okay. I think it was just basically like Discord was trying to like stifle you because it was hearing the fucking dumbass train in my background. Maybe there won't be another one.
Because good old Phoebe ended up saying, "Oh, you can't say that."
Do what?
Good old Phoebe Netanyahu.
Oh, okay.
It's like, no, don't say it.
No, vanilla, no, no vanilla.
What, a Catholic and a trans individual having a good conversation? Nope. Okay. God forbid it comes back on the Jews. I'm kidding. I'm not one of those guys.
No, I know you're not, and neither am I. For the record, I am against anti-Semitism and shit like that.
On that shit.
Yeah, I honestly, I laugh at people who are like that, because to me, it's just like, it's not, it's no.
Too down the rabbit hole.
Not only that, but well, yeah, that's why it's dangerous, I would say. But I think the reason why I find it kind of funny to laugh at them is because at a certain point they start to sound really, really, really absurd. And like, so it's one thing if you want to say that the state of Israel is like influencing some shit at the national level of politics, okay, and has got like an untoward amount of cooperation with our local police, okay, I get that. But then you want to go on to say like the Jews are responsible for this, that, and the other thing, and at a certain point it just starts to sound so conspiratorial as to be absurd. And it's like, the joke I always make is, did the Jews compromise the limb that fell onto your car last night and busted out your windshield? Was that the Jews? Do you think the Jews are the ones who burned your steak last night too? Do you think it was like some rowdy, hidden, mischievous Jewish rabbi looking for a grill to fuck up? Like, what are you... It just starts to sound really dumb at a certain point. So, I think it's absurd.
Yeah. It's people looking for an out. People looking for an enemy.
And I hate that they can't just blame the obvious enemy, which to me is predatory capitalism. Like, I know we disagree on that, or maybe we don't. Would you agree that capitalism, at the very least, would you agree with me that capitalism can be employed for evil?
It can.
Okay, do you think it is being employed en masse for evil?
En masse, no, but at some portions, yes. So there's a beautiful analogy. I know you're going to hate this guy. You are going to hate the source, so I'm going to wait to say the analogy first, then I will say the source.
Okay.
Capitalism in the economy as a whole, it's a hockey rink. Do you like hockey, or do you know of hockey?
I have a baseline understanding of hockey. It used to be my favorite sport when I was a little kid.
Okay. So I'm in the Northeast. I'm a Bruins fan, so we take hockey seriously. That comes for some of the hate. It counts for some of the hatred of Canada. I'm kidding when I say that, but
For sure.
so capitalism is hockey. All right. You have rules in place. All right. Those rules in place. All right. Don't hit people. Don't hit people. Don't do this. Don't do that. But there are baseline rules that exist, and in the confines of the rink, there are penalties that can occur. There are also outside influences that are going to keep everybody in check. For instance, like when I played hockey, I was an enforcer because I couldn't skate for shit. I'd shoot okay, but I could beat the crap out of somebody. That was my role. But you end up screwing up too much, you're going to get your teeth knocked in. You end up fucking around, skirt the rules, you are going to get your ass kicked. It is a self-correcting problem. It is a self-correcting system in the long game. I think we need to jump on the monopoly rules a little bit more, and we should have in the early 2000s, especially with Alphabet, because holy shit. But it is a system that we have checks and balances in.
You know,
those checks and balances just need to be enforced.
But
it is not the fault of mom and pop shops. It is not the fault of a lot of folks. The fact that the stick is not being used accordingly, but the system itself is okay.
So my problem with the hockey analogy comes down to the fact that under capitalism, the players, right? So here's the distinction, right? With hockey, the players have very little influence over the rules. Maybe they can influence them long term. Like, that's maybe something that, there's some discussion to be had there. But it's nowhere near the degree of control that the capitalist is able to exercise over the state. And like the monopoly of state violence is required to perpetuate capitalism, to protect private property, and to protect these transactions of private capital. And under the system of capitalism, there is a constant profit incentive for people that have money, and therefore, because of how things work, because of the nature of private property power, there's always going to be an incentive. Unless we get rid of that system, unless we completely undermine and replace that system, there's always going to be an incentive for them to fight as hard as they can with their money to buy politicians, to tilt regulations in their favor. And basically the only check that exists on that power exists within democratic societies that have adopted capitalism, that can choose to restrain it through the sheer volume of people power, or by, this doesn't really work anymore, but you used to be able to elect a representative who would actually advance your interests in Congress. I know, novel idea, but it used to be a foundational cornerstone of our democracy. Not so much anymore, but it used to be part of the idea. And either way, I feel like
we're not using the powers that be that we do have to keep it in check, because at the end of the day, that we have, as people or those players, they have the right to not play. I mean, we've had multiple lockouts for, like, say, the NHL or other smaller leagues. The people, if they don't participate, no one gets a pay day. And they are allowed to have that bargaining, the players' union, if you will, to say, hey, I don't want to do this, or hey, I think we should make this rule change. I mean, for example, like slashing, when hockey was on the up and up, like forming as we know it today, a huge portion of Canadian teams actually didn't participate because they're like, oh, you're outlawing slashing? Nope, don't want to be in there. And we do have that collective ability. It's just, hey, we got to use the powers that we got. I mean, Google, Alphabet, like all them, we have the means to break them up. We have the means to break up these really horrible practices, but it's just a matter of this system has festered too much, letting people walk over it for too long.
I
It's
agree.
not the system, it's the people that screwed it up.
No, see, like, that's where we differ, right? I believe that it's but here's the thing, it's not like the people just, like, gave up in a vacuum, right? It's not that, like, some magic was poured over them by the Tooth Fairy and we all just suddenly decided, we don't care no more. You know, it's like, there has been an active effort by the owner class pretty much since the transition away from feudal mercantilism into, like, mercantile capitalism. Pretty much since that transition, the owner class has always been engaged in a concerted effort to suppress the working class's activism, to support legislation that disempowers us and empowers them further. And, you know, like, as people have revolted against that and managed to make gains in spite of that massive amount of monetary power and political power pushing back against them, despite all that, they have constantly found new and unique ways to evolve and innovate on that power and control. And a lot of the reason why people have dropped out of politics is
good teams, bad teams, and always trying to skirt the rules.
But what I'm trying to say is that under capitalism, though, a lot of people have dropped out and allowed it to run roughshod over them because the capitalists have been, like, steadily whittling away at shit and have been able to, like the fact that
we agree on that. We have the tools necessary, but to take care of the problem. But no one's been willing to step up because they don't want to shake the rock the boat too hard.
Well, yeah, okay, we agree there. So here's the thing. Can I just say what I was going to say real quick? Let me just say what I was going to say real quick. I was just like, I think that the people are culpable in that there have been a couple of opportunities where things, you know, went, like, sideways, and people either didn't realize that they were going sideways at the time, or not enough people realized. And I think that that in a democracy, it is somewhat incumbent on the people to step up and make the changes that they want to see. I'm not trying to completely absolve the people of responsibility, obviously, because I advocate for a mass movement. What I'm trying to say is that I want people to deconstruct. That's one of the things I try to advocate for on this channel, is whether it's about your faith or if you are like a stringent believer in capitalism. I don't expect to be the one who's going to convince you out of your viewpoints, but if you're someone in the audience who's considering this kind of stuff and you decide capitalism doesn't seem to work, I don't want people to just decide, okay, I'm going to be a socialist. I want them to actually be able to deconstruct why these systems don't seem to work out for the people living there, why so many capitalist nations have fallen, failed, died trying, why the ones that are so successful have had to, you know, engage in so much exploitation to get there. And I feel like this is one element of knowing that while the people do have a responsibility, you also are better off if you realize that the reason, like if you realize the reason why some people don't understand who the enemies are. If you realize the reasons why, some people don't understand that it's predatory capitalism to blame. Predatory capitalism, even if you don't want to call it capitalism in general, which I'm perfectly comfortable with saying it's capitalism in general, but predatory capitalism that is unfettered and unchecked by the people has like sapped this country of a ton of its wonderful nature over time, and plenty of other countries as well. And I think that it does require a mass movement to correct, but I want people to understand how we got to this point so they can help understand how to make other people get it as well.
And I think you are right in the idea that it is a personal responsibility. You are 1,000% correct in that. We have to have a understanding to explain to the people, hey, we have the tools necessary. It's not the system. It's not the system at fault necessarily, because it's an open capitalism. At the end of the day, is an open canvas, and we have the ability to right the wrongs here. The American market actually has a lot of checks and balances on capitalism itself, but I'm going to be frank, our people as a whole, since the early 1900s or even the mid 1900s, we've been too cowardly to use the heavy sticks to put people in check. That is now allowing predatory capitalism and people to get too far ahead, and people are able to buy out. So now it's up to us to have these discussions, change the hearts and minds of people to say, hey, we gotta course correct.
Yeah,
but it's not the fault. You don't fault the tool. You don't fault the tool for the crops failing. If they're if the weeds are growing too big, you don't fault the tool, you fault the people.
Sure, but when we're talking about systems of like systems of economy or the management of countries, we are fundamentally talking about people. Regardless, we're talking about the decisions that human beings make, both at the voting booth and when they decide to do direct action, and people at the top who are human beings too, even if sometimes they don't quite act like it. And I think a nuanced critique of capitalism is essentially criticism of human beings behaving badly, in our opinion. Some people don't like that. Some people think it's not the system, that it's just some of the people within it. To me, it's a distinction without a difference. To me, whether or not someone wants to get rid of capitalism in the long term is, at this point, less important to whether they recognize that there are people that hold immense amounts of power within the current capitalist paradigm who just, people in corporations should not be able to be as powerful as they've been able to get. And I think that we need to kind of get over this idea that we're going to just elect the perfect president and they're going to get in office and make everything perfect and fix everything that's wrong. And we need to accept that we, the people, might have to do some kind of mass movement to make some of these changes come about, and to force some of these monopolistic breakups and shit like that. Because the politicians aren't going to do it.
You are sounding you are sounding almost mirrored with a lot of the shit that JD Vance was saying on the Joe Rogan Experience recently.
I mean,
I know you don't like to hear that, but I do recommend listening to it, because it's like, this guy almost sounds like a communist for a lot of people. He actually got a lot of hate from a lot of people on the right because he was sounding so pro-union, anti-monopoly, this and that. And Rogan too has a lot of left tendencies, this and that. And people are like, why the fuck is JD Vance saying that? Mr. Capitalism, Mr. owns part of Palantir, this and that. And he's talking about, break up these corporations and this and that. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, that's nice, as long as he's talking about also breaking up, like, I mean, as far as I know, J.D. Vance is, like, tied in pretty deeply with Peter Thiel and shit. And if he's also talking about, like, breaking up those monopolies and, like, in general, kind of making this a more equitable country for, you know, everybody that wants to live in it, like, that'd be something.
He's saying, he's like, obviously he's anti-communist, but it's funny because the way that he talks about so much, he's like, oh, as capitalists, we failed people. We failed a whole generation. He's like, we need people to be able to participate and understand that, like, he's like, we need to have people participate in this, and they're not going to have a stake in this. They're not going to give a shit. And the way that he was pushing that to Rogan almost seemed like surprised with the whole idea, like what he was kind of talking about. And I think that's freshening, like very fresh compared to Mr. Business Mogul Trump. I think you would enjoy some of the interview that he had with that Rogan had with Vance. If you want to go ahead and check it out at some point, I think you'll at least go, okay, the Republican Party isn't totally piece of shit.
Well, I've always maintained that J.D. Vance is more of a statesman than Donald Trump. I mean, J.D. Vance once said that Trump could possibly be the Hitler of our time. And it could be very well that he's only decided to cozy up to Trump in order to make himself a more viable candidate in 2028 or something like that. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me too hard that he's saying that, although it does kind of make me wonder if it's just a cynical act, because of course, naturally, and I'm not even saying like this is like someone who's like biased towards the left, but I feel like anybody left or right that looks at that scenario should naturally at least have the nibbling thought like, well, J.D. Vance is tied heavily in with like Palantir and Peter Thiel, who doesn't exactly have what I would call any horizontal or vertical monopolies, but is certainly getting a lot of lucrative government contracts and things like that. And so is he really saying this because it's a genuinely held belief that he would apply to all corporations evenly, even the ones he's invested in? Or is it a belief that he would use to, like, as many fascists have in the past, to target the corporations that don't want to toe the line and empower the corporations that are helping him out? It's just, I have to wonder, you know? I hope it is something he really believes in.
That he goes over in his previous book that he ended up having, like growing up in the Rust Belt, all the single-family household, all the bullshit that he went through. I think it does come from a genuine place. Obviously, as a person, there will be this idea of profit and the like, setting up his family, but he does, I think, and this kind of goes into another subject of how a lot of the right is feeling right now. He's a very... It's sounding like he's coming a lot more genuine than Trump. Trump was brash, let's make America great again, let's do this, let's do that, very brash. Put it out into the world and see what sticks. I mean, he was surprised that he even won against Hillary way back when.
Right.
But he sounds a lot more genuine of a politician compared to, like, say, Rubio, which Rubio is Mr. King of Venezuela and kind of more war hockey. I think the next primary that we're going to have is very much how much are we going to be more war hockey on the grand stage? How much is Trump able to get done during his presidency to set us up for the future? Because right now in the present, it's not going to be good. I'm going to be one of the first people to say that. It is not going to be fun for the next year or two. From like 5 years out, it's going to be wonderful. Whoever takes over the 2028 stage, whether it be a Democrat, Republican, whoever, they're going to have keys to the castle. They're going to be set up. And by 2029, the economy is going to be looking great. But right now, it is ass. And outside of the basic stock market and such, or the 401ks and the like, it is the day in day
Hi, Taylor.
Economy is trash. Long term, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know if those predictions will exactly end up coming true. I hope they do. I would certainly love for the economy to move out of its current downturn and start looking up again. But then again, I would also like the housing market to crash. So how much do I really want that, right? But here's what I will say. I think that a lot of people on both the left and right are kind of getting sick of this specifically like Trumpian brand of conservatism, which at this point, as an outsider looking in, doesn't seem to have very much to it at this point. And I feel like the movement has spawned a couple of like splinter movements that maybe do have people that believe in something. And I think that J.D. Vance is a representative of one of those tendencies, and I think that you're right in identifying Rubio as a representative of a different tendency. And I don't exactly know which one is going to end up winning out in the long run. But
I hope for all our sake, personally, it's more Vance, because I want less intervention than Rubio very much clearly is putting himself on.
Yeah.
And also, I think Vance has kind of marketed himself as much more of this tepid statesman dealing with both sides mentality, rather than the fucking, hey, I'm going to toe the Republican line no matter what.
He's trying to position himself as like a right-wing Obama almost, as like, hey, I'm going to work with both sides. I'm going to try and find solutions that work for the average American, things like that. Which is, I think, probably going to be what earns him the nomination in the Republican primary in 2028. But I'm going to say something, and then I'm going to go use the bathroom real quick. At this point, I just want to let you guys know, if you would like to support the channel, please consider sending a Super Chat or a Cash App donation. If you have a question for Joey, he is a Catholic Maga conservative. We've been talking all night about all kinds of different things. He's got some, quite a bit of military experience, so he's well versed in geopolitics and shit. That's kind of like his specialty, what we usually bring him on to talk about. If you've got any questions for me, I'm Phoebe. I'm the owner of the channel. I'm a trans feminine leftist and anarchist that believes fundamentally in a revolution against the owner class. If you'd like to ask us anything, and I do mean anything, I'm also an atheist, so you can ask religious questions as well. Anything to either of us, please consider sending it in a Super Chat or a Cash App donation. We will get to all of those before we end the stream, and probably not here in that long. I don't know exactly how long Joey wants me to keep them, but we will get to those probably as they're sent if I can. But I'll try to keep the flow going and everything. With that being said, I'm going to go use the bathroom. Joey, if you would like to entertain the chat, you may.
Alright. First of all, Jesus loves all of you. I wanted to say that, making sure Phoebe could hear that in the distance. Alright, who do we got? No, Phoebe is not pregnant. Who would ask a atheist a religious question? I would actually say that a lot of people would like to ask a lot of atheist religious questions. Everyone kind of likes to throw their lot in with whether it be challenging a perspective, but a lot of atheists almost are more so prone to wanting to prove the denial or existence of God, that they tend to be more well-versed than the average. I mean, I personally am a believer in Father Almighty myself, but, we'll all meet St. Peter at the end of it. That's my faith, so.
Alrighty. You guys have disappointed me. Not a single Super Chat, but that's okay. Maybe we'll get lucky a little later. Somebody asked, are you against Jewish people? No. I don't know what could possibly make somebody.
That too, and that's great.
You're like, well, why would I be against the whole group of people? I just don't know why I would be fundamentally opposed to a single ubiquitous monophyletic group of people. It just doesn't make doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, whatever, man. Weirdo. Stop assuming just because somebody's got some out there political opinions that they're, like, insane.
Yeah, hold on. Phoebe, you did wash your hands, right?
Yeah.
That was a very quick run.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've got, it's just not far to go, so.
I mean, that's pretty good. I'm not looking forward to my new house that I'm getting, like where I'm going to be setting up my my smoking room and between my smoke room and my whole setup that I have. I'm not looking forward to having to go upstairs and around the bend to go to the bathroom.
That's one of the reasons why when I build out my little studio area that I'm going to be moving into a different outbuilding here within the next 6 months, hopefully. One of the things I want to do is either put a bathroom in it, like use the bathroom in, not have the sound travel out, and like a sink, that's it. Like, that's all I would need. So I'm thinking about just outfitting it with a bathroom inside of it. That way it's like super easy to go, and like just literally pause, walk like 5 feet, there's a bathroom. But then the other reason why I kind of don't want to do that is because I feel like if I do that, then I'm gonna become a total fucking workaholic with these streams if that happens. Because I'm just gonna be like, I can just camp out here for like 24 hours straight. Of course, then again, it would make the idea of doing a 24-hour episode a hell of a lot more appealing. So I don't know. It'll depend on what kind of measurements, because I have to get that shed cleared out and take a measurement of the actual available floor space to see where I want to put things and how I want to set it up.
Can I just make a quick shout out?
Yeah.
Our wonderful mod, Taylor, one, I'm surprised that they haven't said anything so much in the chat, but they're like machine gunning through a lot of these mod activities, so I just wanted to say 10 out of 10, small clap for Taylor, like, going through all this.
Heck yeah.
Especially whenever, like, there's a faith discussion or whatever comes through, or when we're having, like, a consistent amount of people, there's a lot, so.
Yeah, no, for sure. It can be a lot to process through. I'm going to make her job a little bit easier by just setting a slow mode and subscribers mode. That should make it a little bit easier to manage. Aw, thanks, she said. Well, yay.
Hey, it's a thankless job being a mod, and I gotta say, ever since I got my mod abilities, I was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna start jumping on, and then by the time I, like, go to start clicking on anything to review, like, it's already handled, I'm like, alright, I suck at my job, got it.
Well, it's just that we've got so many people that are, like, on that shit, because there's lots of people that want to see this community do well, and I really do. Like, being a mod can be a thankless job, so I just want all of you to know that help me out in here. I do appreciate it a lot, because you guys are what make these streams possible, and these chats as productive as they can be.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Taylor, because you have kicked butt so much, did you have any question or anything that has been rolling in your mind about some hatred towards me?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Or just like any thoughts, discussions adding to any of this, and same with Mulaney as well.
Yeah, if you've got any thoughts to add, we'd love to hear them, of course. I know you've been like working hard to keep the chat functional, so you might not have gotten much of an opportunity yet.
Some kind of reward, right?
Do you do streaming as a full-time job, or do you have a main job? This is my full-time job. That's why I always stress like the donations and the super chats and stuff like that. It's not because I'm trying to like just like shill constantly for no reason. It's because this is what I do for a living, and that's how you guys can continue making it viable for me. It's just like, if you've got a little bit of extra money burning a hole in your pocket, you can super chat, donate via Cash App, you can sign up for a membership, which enables you to use the members only live chat whenever I turn that on in my regular vertical streams. It's awesome.
For me to say, hey, Joe, Joey, or Chud. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. If you want to say something specific to Joey, just type in the super chat or the Cash App notes, This is for Joey, yada yada yada. If it's for me,
This
same
is for
thing.
Joey, as it goes to Phoebe anyway.
The ghost of Phoebe, what now?
No, it would go to Phoebe regardless. It ain't my stream. I'm not getting the revenue.
Oh, well, yeah, true. True, yeah. Yeah. Call me a capitalist, I guess. No. I feel like people take it way too seriously.
You're doing the thing that a lot of people get pissed off with. You're getting paid with exposure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many photographers that I've met have been pissed off with that. How many artists in general? I'm like, yeah, you should be pissed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been kind of pissed at that before, but although it is one of those things, it depends, right? If you're just like just starting out, then it can be useful to go to stuff like that where it's like you're not really getting paid, but at least people are seeing you and you get the chance to like get some practice in front of an audience and stuff like that. But if you like have an established band and you've paid some decent, you've played all through that stage in your career, then yeah, like just like even the offer of something like that becomes insulting at a certain point. But I mean, for a live streamer, a lot of the
I'm more prone for I have a trade job. I make plenty of money on my stocks, all that good shit. I'm gonna start renting out stuff again. So like, I'm personally like, I'm vibing. I could never do streaming myself personally. I tried it a little bit. I made some money, and I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me.
Yeah, no, that's valid.
My mother was not happy with me.
That's valid. For me, I've got a family and stuff, but my situation is kind of unique, and my partner supported what I was doing for, like as far as these streams go, making my money and paying my bills with this, right up until we, broke up. And so that never really played a part in it. I think the reason why I continue to do it and want to grow the channel even more and want to keep doing it is because, like, I don't know, I feel like I kind of get in like a little bit of a flow state whenever I'm doing a stream and it's going well and the topics are flowing and the chat is flowing. It really does. And the time flies by so very quickly. It's already 2:23 in the morning. We started talking at like 11 o'clock, like it's been 11, 12, 1, 2. It's been 3.5 hours so far worth of just like steady flowing conversation, and I wouldn't be surprised if I continue to, stream for another couple hours after this. Like it's, this is still going. It's just like, this is fun for me. I have a lot of fun doing it, and there seems to be a lot of people that have fun watching it, and so for me, it's just like I found like the perfect career path. I'm like, I gotta hold on to this as much as I can. But it's not for everybody. It's not, and there's careers lots of other people do that I couldn't imagine doing my whole life of that stuff.
Like, I think while working for the Department of Education, that was my favorite job that I used to have. I got drunk every day on lunch, being able to talk to a bunch of millionaires trying to make investments. And I got to do call center stuff, helping people get out of debt. That was like my favorite job in the world. And I was going to get locked in for a $120,000 salary position. I was so hype on that. And the interview, like, that was basically formal because the position was already gifted to me. It happened on the same day we were all told to go home for COVID. And then after like a week, they said the position's been closed because of that. I was so pissed.
No, that'd be the worst. Oh my God. Crushing, right?
Like March, I think like 14th, 15th, a few days from my birthday. And I was happy because I was transitioning out from full-time in the military to Air National Guard at that point. And it was funny, I was telling my commander, like, in November, December, saying, hey, we should be aware that this is going on because obviously I pay attention to geopolitical politics, look at the climate and everything that's constantly going on, see any local threat potential. And I said, hey, we should like be aware that this is happening soon. I had no idea it was going to get as bad as it did, but I was making him aware of it, and we were like taking precautions just in case, and then it all went down the drain and sucked.
Yeah, no, that's
It was able to help our so our state had like such a low unemployment rate that our unemployment system was not ready to handle anything, and we were like the third worst in the country for our unemployment system. And because I was working at a call center like during that time, I actually ended up assisting our unemployment system from being the third worst in the country to the third best in the country.
well, that's
Governor
good.
Sununu actually made it clear. He's like, hey, we got a lot of old people who don't know how technology works. We need to make sure that we have a bunch of people on the phones who can like walk people through everything.
For sure. I was gonna say something. I don't remember what it was.
And see if there were any other topics or anything that you want to jump me on for, or see where it's going on. I'm sure there's plenty of content. Because I'm a power cable now. I don't help people put warheads on foreheads.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now your job is a lot more mundane, I imagine.
Yeah, it's dealing with a lot of metals and plastic. And by the way, when people are like, oh, it's a power line, oh, it's plastic, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Then I got hit with one going 50 miles an hour, and I got launched 10 feet, and I go, oh, turns out power cable hurts.
Oh yeah. Well, anything can hurt if it's going fast enough and it hits you, you know, like
Yeah, I work with the underground cable primarily, and that was a wake up call. Let me tell you, I took my job a lot more seriously after that, and I weigh I'm a pretty muscular dude. I weigh 225 pounds, 6 foot, and I'm a pretty big, strong dude, whatever. Which is funny when I'm in a baby metal mosh pit, but that was a wake up call. How fast I got launched.
oh, I bet. I would imagine.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. I want to I want to say that there was more that I was going to say, but damn it. Let's see here. We were talking about, what was the last thing we were talking about?
We had faith. We were kind of touching into the climate of how conservative or the Maga movement kind of is feeling right now. Kind of like touched briefly on thoughts of like Vance.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember I remember now. So yeah, what do you make of this idea that the right is kind of fracturing into like a JD Vance corner, a Rubio corner, and a Tucker corner? Because that's kind of how it seems like it's playing out to me.
I don't think the separation of... I think a lot of the... I'm happy that we're going to have a primary, like an actual primary for the first time in a while. But I don't think it's... Now, keep in mind, this is my thoughts on how a lot of conservatives are feeling here in New Hampshire. I can't speak for how other people are in other parts of the country, but for the most part, when I talk to blue-collar folks and the like here, we like Vance. A lot of people are like, oh, he's a hillbilly vibe, and this and that, and it's like, he's kind of polished up. Like, he had a rough upbringing, sure, but he's a lot more polished up now. A lot of people are feeling Vance as kind of the inheritor to the kingdom, and he's going to bring the MAGA base from a brash, like, bullshit, like, constantly tweet every time he's on the toilet vibe to more reserved and more of a traditional statesman that is going to bring a lot of the moderate the moderate Democrats, like the old school ones, like a lot of the boomer base, while they're still alive. And there's a lot of left candidates that are putting a lot of bad tastes in a lot of the Democrats' mouths around here. And I have always been for it. I want, like, the Mandani types, I want them to succeed because I want local representation to reflect how people feel. Even if you know what, it's not my area, it's not my barrel, not my monkeys. If New York wants to elect a communist, let them have communists. I want them to succeed. I want everyone to succeed. But I'm thinking that Tucker he's either going to be a sabotage for the right, or he's going to bring a lot of those moderate old school Democrats to a new coalition. Because I think, honestly, like, the American Democrat Party is currently the oldest active political party that exists right now. And I think the structure of it is going to collapse, and I think the DSA is going to finally, I'm saying this, finally come onto the grand stage as it should, because I want a arena of ideas. And I think a lot of people are thankfully going to have a little bit more of a choice. You can either have your tepid, as it is, some unions making a lot of concessions with a lot of the right, or we can go a little bit more of a hard left, hard right perspective. I think Vance is very much the centrist vote going forward, and I think they're not going to vote Rubio, who's going to be a little bit more the hard right. Because he's just throwing red meat. Him and DeSantis, I think they're both going to suck. And I really hope that he's not Vance's VP.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think that the Democrat, if it ends up being like Newsom or one of these centrists, is probably also going to be a centrist vote. But that, I feel like outside of a couple of elections in recent history, most presidential elections from the last like 30 or 40 years have been pretty much a choice between two centrists, or people that are just left or right of center. And I think that there's maybe an argument that that Donald Trump was probably like an actually, like, I would say firmly on the right, populist, but like populist right candidate in all three elections that he's ran in so far. I would say that George Bush ran on what was basically a centrist, moderate, somewhat to the right platform, ended up definitely governing as someone firmly on the right, ran farther to the right in 2004 than he had in 2000. I think that Obama, like, rhetorically in a lot of ways, ran as a progressive, but also catered to a lot of centrist moderates with other parts of his rhetoric, and he definitely governed like, you know, a complete fucking centrist. And so I think it would be really wonderful to see like an actual fucking progressive and an actually progressive party replace the Democrats, because I just feel like, for better or for worse, people in America are becoming increasingly less interested in these stodgy, outdated, bought-out politicians from the Democratic Party. And I think so many people understand that's what compromises the highest levels of Democratic leadership, and that unless that changes at some point, it's increasingly less viable to put your faith in any kind of change coming out of them. So I would love it if the DSA would form their own national party.
Leftism, I think, is wonderful. I really do. I don't think, because America at its core is center-right compared to the rest of the world, I think federally we're more so on the right side, but I want more leftist ideas being pushed at the state level, because that's where people have more control over their day in, day out lives. Like, a lot of this push for federal left wing, I mean, you're going to turn off too many people, and I think starting out by making strong gains at the state level, once you have those wins there, I think that's where you can start having that proper change to change the temperature of how people see a lot of these left views. Then we can go on. I think it's too early right now. Probably wait another, realistically, because how slow our system is, probably another 15, 20 years. But I think realistically, the DSA should be targeting state level first. Because if you start running before you can walk, you're going to get people turned off too hard, and then you're going to run into some issues. Because I want there to be people having proper representation for how they feel, but it's going to have to be resolved first at the state.
I think I agree on some things and disagree on others when it comes to whether it should be done federally or at a state level. But I'm okay with various states making their own like state option for healthcare that's accessible to everybody, for example, and trying to do on a state level these different programs that could eventually be made into programs that are administered federally or something. But I guess I don't really have any problem with that, other than that it seems to kind of perpetuate the slow nature of the system, which is something that I think that there are some changes that would benefit all of America, that enough people agree on, that if there were a movement of enough people, 30 million strong, divided between Wall Street and DC, I think that if they went with a specific list of desires, 3 to 5, that reflect things that the broad majority of Americans, 75% or more, agree with, that I think that movement would probably be successful and effective. And
that's why Trump's winning right now. He's going after all the 80-20 issues, because America is at its core center right, and that's where Trump is going to. Oh, okay, that makes sense. We got 80% of the country wanting this. He's going after that, and unfortunately, it's going to work at a federal level going like that. But
well, I think you might.
DSA is going to have any wins, they need to stop going after this focus on federal overhaul first. And if they're going to evolve into a responsible big federal party that's going to get this Big Tent, they have to go after state first. That's where you can have the most change and affect the hearts and minds of people. I mean, look at, when you use my local New Hampshire here, I mean, Mingia, we've had multiple times that we've had so many libertarians coming through, having wins here and there. We've had libertarians out in the smaller population states. You need to change state level first, then you can go federal, because if you go too fast in our system, it's going to turn people away.
I just don't know that I agree. Not on the topic, tourist kind of nation. I don't know how to put it. Like, there is so much to come and see in America. There really is. It is such a massive country.
One of my European friends, they're like, oh, we're in New York. Can we go to Texas? Bro, you do not understand how big this country is.
Exactly, right. Exactly. And people, I've had conversations like that where somebody's like, oh, I'd love to see you while I'm in America. Where are you at? And I'm like, oh, I'm, over here. And they're like, how far away is that? I'm like, it's, I don't know, like 1,000 miles or so. And they're like, what the fuck? But
Hey, do you want to be really happy about your financial situation right now?
What? Tell me.
So, in comparison, what would you say are the 3 richest nations in all of Europe?
I really don't know. Germany, France. I would say like Germany, France, and maybe Norway.
Closer to, think like the UK and such, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, if in theory, this shows you how high people hold themselves. If the UK, people in the UK thought that if they would join the United States, they would be considered, on average, the 7th richest state in the Union. They would actually be the 51st richest state in the Union, behind Mississippi.
How does that work out?
Because the average income and wealth for the dollar compared to the pound, and also how much they make in euros, and like the wealth of even Mississippi is more than UK.
Huh.
Yup. It's fucking crazy, and people are like, oh, yeah, it has really gotten bad. Now, in the 90s, they would have been, like, middle of the pack, up there, pretty high, but it has gotten so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Germany, admittedly, would be pretty up there.
Now, one thing I was gonna say, but well, I just to get back to what I was saying, if that's okay,
Yeah.
the whole reason I brought up, like how big America is and all this other shit was just because, like, I think that that America is a place that people from all around the world should want to visit, because this is, I think, one of the most beautiful nations on the planet. We've got, in the West, you've got you've got the West Coast and all the coastal areas. You've got the California redwoods. You've got both the coastal Sierras and then the Sierra Nevada, and then going a little bit east from the West Coast, you get into the painted desert of Arizona, the beautiful northwestern tracts of the Great Plains up in the where the Rockies kind of flatten out, but you've got this big plateau. It's like the most northwestern corner of that. You've got the Rockies themselves and those beautiful snow-peaked mountaintops that you can look out from on a clear July day and see from miles and miles away. And then you go a little bit further east from that, you get to nothing but the Great Plains. And then you've got like Texas with all of its weird, different, varied climates. Like just Texas alone has areas in it that have that more kind of like Great Plains up in the elevation, not as humid kind of climate. And then it's got other areas that are just like the deep south in Louisiana in terms of climate. It's got other areas that are just like basically a little corner of the Southwest. And so just in Texas alone, and you get to the east and you get talking about the Appalachians, the swamps of the swamps and bayous of the deep south, the Everglades in Florida, the beauty of the Northeast, where you've got these just wonderful, almost like Skyrim-esque mountains that just make this beautiful topography everywhere you look.
When you're driving through autumn, like around here, when you go through some of the hills, you'll just see like endless beautiful trees, and you're like, this is a poster card. Like this isn't real.
Right, exactly. I've had that experience, and it is breathtaking. I mean, I've had that experience driving through Missouri too, where it's just struck me the supreme beauty. The only times, I tell you what, and this is why I sometimes say I'm still spiritual, because the only times when I've ever felt a tinge of divinity to the world, really, one of the only times that I ever feel a tinge of divinity to the world is when I just take in the breathtaking beauty of our natural world and how incredibly lucky I feel to be witnessing it in just that moment, but how also incredible to think of how long it has looked this way and all else. It's not enough to make me think that any given religion out there is true or to think that there's a God out there, but it certainly does kind of make me feel a little bit more able to relate to people that describe spiritual experiences, because I'm like, yeah, I can understand how somebody might think that there's I'm just saying, I could think how somebody might think that there's a God out there looking at all this, you know. I don't think it's enough to prove it, but I could see how they might think that.
About 1 year from where you are right now is having that same line of thinking. It wasn't until I like stopped and like really appreciated. That's when like I had my moment. I'm having that appreciation for the beauty around me too. That's my kid. as much of a shithead as she is. I love her.
See, I don't know, like, for me, I think having my child in these beautiful moments of appreciation that feel somewhat spiritual, a lot of it, and the contemplation I've done about it, has made me more confident and comfortable in my atheism, and I think it's made me appreciate the experiences more, and the experiences I'm going to have in the future more, and stuff, because I think how incredible it is for everything that has happened up to this point, how beautifully complex our lives are, how incredible it is that all of these systems work together to produce such an outcome. And the more you learn about it, the more incredible it becomes, the more enriching it seems. You know, like, it's incredible enough, right, to see the Appalachians or to see the Rocky Mountains, for example. It's incredible enough to be driving down I-70 and to crest that last rolling hill of the Great Plains and finally see the mountains for the first time peeping over the horizon. And it's another thing to start learning about the Rocky Mountains and realizing that it's this long period of tectonic shift that has created these big rifts in the land, and kind of is changing how things work on the surface, and how it's always kind of ongoing, and these beautiful weather systems get developed along their spine that change how the environment works and everything, and everything I learn about it just makes me more appreciative, I think, of my ability to analyze it, to read about it, of other people's ability to learn about it, publish studies about it, to research it. I don't quite know how to put it, but there is something so beautiful about this planet, and so beautiful about the lives that we as human beings live. And I think the more I learn about it, and the more I learn about how everything works, the more it makes me think, like, yeah, you don't need a God for any of this, and it's just as pleasant without one for me. You know, I get so much reward looking out over a snow-capped peak across a wide valley when I'm staying in Colorado. I get so much pleasure out of being in a massive redwood forest in California, or being out in the ruins of southwestern desert towns in New Mexico, and never at any point does it feel like there is room, almost, I guess is a good way to put it. Never at any point does it really feel to me like there is room for God in any of those contemplations, because so often I find that the hypothetical application of such divinity to those moments kind of cheapens them. It's almost less impressive if a God did it, to me anyway.
So, what about, oh, geez, here comes a train. So, what about,
I'm sorry. Okay, I can hear you again.
His name is St. Thomas Aquinas.
Do what?
St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, I've heard of St. Thomas Aquinas.
So he had, there's a podcast that I love. Many baptism. And kind of put things in perspective is there's a hierarchy explained, to keep in mind it's like from the Middle Ages, so like the explanation can only be so strong, if you will. But it kind of did click with me, and don't think that actually, I was listening to it last week actually, in between listening to your stream and going to the gym. But he explained that there's a hierarchy, if you will, of being, from the lowest plan all the way to divinity. The closer you get to divinity, the more perfect being. But we all have an imprint others. So if we are made in a reflection of God in a way that is a perfect being, which we are very much not perfect at all. But if we can imprint and have that small reflection or ability to reflect on the world, then eventually once you get to that highest level of imprint, then they eventually imprint on the rest of the universe, if you will. So it's, hey, we can make a pretty painting, we can make a pretty structure, or we can affect the garden that individual plants end up imprinting from there. So if you have that base illustrator and let it live, do its thing, there is that similar beauty. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying that's a belief in kind of like explaining the beauty from one famous philosopher.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about for sure. And ultimately, you know me, I don't really care much like that someone wants to explain the beauty of the world through religious terms, or wants to believe those believe the things that they believe because it makes them feel better, or makes their life make more sense, or whatever. Like, my main issue, honestly, with religious people comes from the desire that some clergy and some followers of faith seem to have towards theocracy. Not all, obviously, but there seems to be a tendency, and that kind of thing is something that I fundamentally oppose. I just don't think that anything that cannot be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt in the laboratory probably shouldn't be relied upon, as like the basis of a morality. It's like people always ask me, like, how do you know murder is wrong? Well, because people have, like we've shown in a laboratory setting, that human beings on average have an empathy response that makes them not like that, and so it makes society worse when you normalize it, because it makes people feel bad, and like people that are under those sorts of like stressors with that kind of thing tend to lead worse lives. Like, you can back up every bit of my morality that I espouse. I like to think that on some level I can back it up with an argument that relies on some kind of thing that we know about either the world or human beings. And I'm sure that there are blind spots. In fact, I know there are. But I like to think that a religious person is capable of engaging in that same thing, of saying, well, I believe that this is how a person should live their life, and I think that this is how a person should believe, but I also think that people should be able to make the choice. I think that that's totally fine. I think that there are lots of people who have been Christian in their lives, but secular in terms of how they like engaged in their politics. There have been tons and tons of people that have been like secular politicians, other than the fact that they were religious people. They might have used the occasional religious justification or something in a rhetorical argument, but the things that they're doing were ultimately secular improvements or disimprovements to the society at large. So I think that they can be non-overlapping magisteria. I just think that there is a tendency, a growing tendency in my mind, mostly among evangelical Protestants here in America, towards like Christian theocracy. And that scares me a little bit, because I don't think that a Christian theocratic government would want a person like me running around.
Yeah, some of them are. That's one thing before I go, because I said 4 o'clock is probably when I have to go. I have to do the laundry at get in leg day and all that good stuff, or leg night.
Alrighty.
But that's actually one thing that why I do prefer Catholicism. Not just because Roman Catholic, my family is very Italian. That's my culture, this and that. But I like the idea that the church and all of humanity has had these same constant conversations that we have, questioning itself and the checks and balances that the greater church as an organization has with itself. There are those conventions that everyone discusses, say, hey, is this right? Is this the right movement for the church? This and that. Everyone disagrees, agrees. There are different sects in it, but no matter what, they all come to an agreement. When you come to Protestantism, I mispronounce it like crazy, but when you have the Protestant faith, you really do have, it's how you feel, your own personal practice. There are so many breakdowns. Everyone has small agreements, disagreements that all end up being their own branch of their whatever faith. It just takes one or two random pastors to lead a group of individuals down a very wild path. That's when we end up getting like the Westboro Baptist Church folks, or like some of the more culty shit.
Or like Jim Jones.
That really have people stray away from the faith, love, don't fuck with others, and you really start getting people in this fervor that really turns people away from what is the point of Christianity, and it turns into a, hey, what do you mean you're not part of the club? Well, that means I don't like you. It's like, okay, well, what the fuck? You forget about Jesus and loving people? Like, come on.
Yeah, it does end up sounding pretty hypocritical, no?
That's why I'm happy that people find God, even if it's via Protestantism, but I don't, just because all of that freedom, all of that do as you will, do it in practice, it lets a lot of people, and I'm very freedom first. I mean, I have, how many do I have? I have 3 American flags and a New Hampshire flag in my home, like 1-bedroom condo that I'm at right here, and a bunch of flags over at my 15-acre farm. Like flags up the wazoo. I love me some Maga, but that much freedom, especially in faith, being able to get the wrong message, like, does rub me the wrong way, because people are going to start going astray and get some pretty bad stuff, and you're going to start gay bashing violently, and you're going to a trans individual, and just, what about that? That's the most important thing. Like, what about love and that unity? It's just gone at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, you said you needed to get off here?
Yep, yes I do. Gotta hit them leg days.
Well, then, in that case, I will give you your exit. I don't think there's any super chats or anything that I had to ask you. I guess make sure just real quick first. No, there's no super chats to be answered. So, yeah, no, but thank you for hanging out with me. It's been like 4 hours worth of conversation, and that's honestly like an hour more than I was expecting to end up getting, and I'm really happy that we had such a productive conversation, because I think it's important to show people that this kind of thing is possible, and that it's very fun and enjoyable, both to do for an audience and to participate in yourself. So yeah, thank you for participating. Thank you for being a fan of the channel, of course, and for supporting with super chats when you can. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And once more, like, subscribe the stream, support Phoebe via Cash App, via going to Discord. Just be a part of this. Help out the Lord algorithm that is YouTube.
Heck yeah. Thank you, Joey. Fuck yeah. Alrighty.
You have a good night.
Good night, Joey. Alrighty. Hell yeah. Alrighty. Well, that was Joey. I'm gonna go use the bathroom real quick, and then I will be right back, and we will talk about, it. Okay, I'm back. That was a very interesting conversation. Very interesting, very long. What a long conversation. I'm gonna go ahead and restart the stream. Well, actually, I'm gonna take a break for a minute so I can go get me a drink. But I'm gonna basically end the stream. I'm not done for tonight, so I'm probably gonna come back live. I may do a gaming stream, maybe. But I'm gonna cut it off for now. Well, maybe. Maybe I'll cut it off for now. I guess we'll see what chat activity we have the next few minutes. Probably gonna cut it off the next few minutes, though, so I can go in, get me another drink. Go in, get me another drink. What else do I need to do? Do I need to do anything else? I guess I could probably do with some more tobacco. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna go take me a break. I will be back.